We continue now at the top of Daf Vav Amud Beis in Meseches Kiddushin. This is Kiddushin Daf 6b. The Gemara continues, Lo Amar V'lo Klum. If he says to his wife, Hareat Bas Chorin, he hasn't said anything. And Rashi says, Lo Amar Klum Lehisgarsha, meaning it's not a divorce. Im Kasav Lashon Zeh Beget, if he writes this language into the get of Hareat Bas Chorin, She'ein Zeh Lashon Gerushin, that's not a language of Gerushin, so it would not be a divorce. And the Gemara continues, Amar la l'shivchasu, if he says to his maidservant, Hareat muteris l'chol adam, you're mutter to all men, lo amar v'lo klum, also over there he hasn't said anything. And Rashi explains, Hareat muteris lashon gerishin, who again, that's a language of divorce. V'lo lashon shichra de shivcha, that's not the language of freeing a shivcha. De'i baschor and mashvila, because if he really were making her free, eina muteris la'avadim, she's not mutter to all men, she's not mutter to avadim, for example. Aval lashon getu le'isha shematira lakol, sha'isa asura lo al yadu. Rather, when you say Hareat muteris, that's a language of divorce, because you're telling the wife that now she's mutter to everyone that she used to be usher to. So that's only a language of divorce. It's not going to be a language of setting a shivcha free. Amar lo leishto hareat la'atzmech, and so the Gemara says, what if he says to his wife, you belong to yourself, mahu, what's the halacha? Mi amrinan limalacha ka amar lo. Do we say that what he means to say is in terms of her work, meaning she keeps her earnings? Odil malagamri ka amar lo, or maybe he's saying completely, meaning she can marry someone else, she's divorced. Amar le Ravina le Ravashi, Ravina said to Ravashi, Tashma, come and hear the following proof. The Tanya, as we learned in a Brisa, Gufo shall get shichr. The main text of the get shichr, Hareat ben chorin, is that you're free. Hareat la'atzmech, or that you belong to yourself. The same language that we're asking about in terms of divorce. And so the Gemara says as follows, Hashta now, Uma Eved Kenani, if by an Eved Kenani, Dekani le Gufe, where the person, the master, acquires the body, he owns the body of the Eved Kenani. Ki Omar le Hareat la'atzmech legamri kamar le, but when he says to him, you belong to yourself, that means totally, you belong completely to yourself. So Isha by a wife, the lo kani le gufa, where the husband doesn't own the body of his wife, he doesn't own her body, lo kol shekain, should it certainly not be an effective language in terms of gerushin. And the Gemara continues, Amar le Ravina le Ravashi, Ravina said to Ravashi, Amar li Avdo, if he says to his Eved, Ein li esek bach, I have no business dealings with you. Mai, what's the halacha? Mi amrinon ein li esek bach legamri. Do we say that it means that I have no business dealings with you totally, meaning he goes completely free, he can now marry a baschorin, ka Amar le, that's what he's saying to him. Odil malacha ka Amar le, or again, maybe he's saying, in terms of malacha, in terms of your earnings, that belongs to you. Amar le Rav Nachman le Ravashi, Rav Nachman said to Ravashi, V'amri lo Rav Chanin me Chozah le Ravashi, and some have the version that Rav Chanin from Chozah said to Ravashi, Tashma, come and hear the following proof. Hamocher avdo lo ovid kochavim, it says if someone sells his eved to an idol worshiper, to a non-Jew, yatzel lecheres, the halach is he goes free. V'tzarech get shichra me rabo rishon, but he requires a get shichra, he requires a document to set him free from his first master in order to be able to marry a baschorin, in order to be able to marry a Jewish woman. Amr Rav Shimon ben Gamliel, Rav Shimon ben Gamliel says, Ba'med devar mamurim, when is this true? Shelo kasav olav onu, that's if he didn't write for him a shtar, meaning to say, as we'll say in a moment, he didn't write from a shtar that says that when he runs away, when he leaves the Oved Kochavim, that he's going to be free. Aval kasav olav onu, but if he writes from a shtar, meaning within the shtar of the sale, he writes a shtar of freedom, zehu shechruro, so then that shtar will also be the item that sets him free. And the Gemara says, Hechi dami ona, what exactly do we mean by ona? What is the shtar? Amr Rav Sheshes says, the chasav le, that he writes to him, when he sells him to the Oved Kochavim, he writes to him, Keshetivrach mimenu, when you should run away, if you should flee from the Oved Kochavim, Ein li esek bach, I have no business dealings with you, and then that would set him free, that language would set him free, and so you see from this, the proof over here is, you see from this, that Ein li esek bach is a language of freedom. And Rashi explains, again, it says in the Bryce, if he sells his Eved to an Oved Kochavim, the Eved goes free, but still requires a get shichror. V'tzarech get shichror lahatiro bebaschorin. He needs a get shichror in order to be able to marry a baschorin. Mishum the Oved Kochavim gufo lokani, because the Oved Kochavim doesn't acquire the body of the Eved. T'chsiv mehem tiknu atem konim mehem, because the pasuk says you can acquire from them. V'lohem konim mikem, v'lohem konim zeh zeh. But they're not able to acquire from you, and then they can't acquire one from the other, one from another, and so therefore, really, he still owns the body of the Eved is still owned by the Rabbo Rishon, by the first master, and so the first master has to give him a get shichr. But then it said, "B'med devar mamurim shetzarich get shichr." When does he need a get shichr? Shelo kasav olav ono k'shemachar Oved Kochavim, that he didn't write a shtar when he sold him to the Oved Kochavim. But ono lashon shtar, ono again is a language of a document. But if he wrote in the document l'keshetivrach mimenu min Oved Kochavim, that when you run away from the Oved Kochavim, ein li esek bach, I have no business dealings with you. And so we see Alma, we see from this brayso lashon shichr that ein li esek Bach is a language of freedom, and so therefore, again, we see that in general, if you use that language, it would be an effective shtar shichrur. And the Gemara continues at the Tudat. Samar Abaya says, "Hamekadesh b'milva eina mekudeshes." If a person is mekadesh a woman with a loan, that is not a good kedushin. B'hanoas milva, but with the benefit of a loan, mekudeshes, that is considered a good kedushin. V'yaser lasos kain. However, it's forbidden to do this mipnei haramas ribis, because that's using a loophole in terms of interest. And Rashi explains, "Hamekadesh b'milva." What does it mean to be mekadesh with a loan? Diyomer hiskadshi li b'milva shel visicha. Meaning, he says the man had lent money to the woman, and then he says, you don't have to pay me back, it will just be a kiddushin. The money that I lent you should be for kiddushin. Eina mekudeshes. That's not a good kiddushin. The kicha misade Ephron gamrinan, because we learn kicha from the field of Ephron. It has to be similar to that kinyan. The yohev midi b'shas kiddushin, which means that at the time of the kiddushin he has to be giving her something. Umilva lo tzah nitna. Now, when he gave her the loan previously, when someone receives money for a loan, so then they're supposed to spend it. It's something, that money is gone, so to speak. Ukvar the money's already hers. She's chayiv to him to pay him back. That's other money. He's not really giving her anything, and so therefore, hamekadesh b'milva. That's why that's not a good kiddushin. But b'hanoas milva, but with the benefit of the loan, mefarish lav azil. That's going to be explained. What does that mean exactly? The benefit of the loan. But again, it said that is a kiddushin, but it's also to do that because it's like a loophole of ribbis. And the Gemara continues, Hai hanoas milva hechidami. This hanoas milva that Abaya is referring to, when Abaya says if a man is mekadesh a woman with the benefit of the loan, it's a good kiddushin. What exactly is the case? If you're going to say that in the original loan he established ribbis, he established interest, he said to her that I'm going to lend you 4 and you owe me 5, and then he said you don't have to pay me back the 5th, instead let that be a kiddushin. But the Gemara says, first of all, haribis mal yasu, that's total ribbis, that's actual ribbis, it's not just a haramas ribbis, it's not just like a loophole or an artifice of ribbis. V'yod hainu milvin, furthermore, that is a loan. Ultimately she owes him the 5, and now he's forgiving the loan and using that as kiddushin, so that should be the same thing as mekadesh b'milva. And so the Gemara answers, lo, no, tzricha, the case is needed, da'arvich lo zimna. The case over here is he's giving her some extra time. It's a regular loan, and he's saying in exchange for the benefit you have of not having to pay me back right away, so for that, let's do a kiddushin. And essentially the Gemara is saying that's considered to be a haramas ribis, because really she's paying, through the kiddushin, she's paying for this kind of extra time of the loan. And Rashi says, Lo tzricha da'arvich lo zman halva'ah, so he extends the loan. V'yamar lo, he says to her, Iskadshi b'hanoah zu, she'ata yisa nosenes pruta la'adam she'yafaiseni al kach. You would have given a pruta to somebody, let's say you would have wanted to extend the loan, you would have paid, that's a benefit for you. So that benefit, for that benefit, that should be a kiddushin. Oli v'afil agar noter lo dami klal v'im perish lakach mekudeshes. So therefore, in that situation, if he explains that to her, that is a good kiddushin, v'haramas ribisu, but that's just an artifice of ribis. It's not real interest to have a velo ribis gomer. It's not ribis gomer. The lo kates la midi velo midi shakal mina, because there's not like a set amount, and he hasn't taken anything from her. So in that situation, just an extension of the loan in exchange for a kiddushin, that's not ribis gomer. The kol shekain imachal lo kol hamilven. Certainly, let's say he would have been mochal the loan. He would have forgiven the loan. V'yamar lon, he says to her, hiskad shili bahanoas mechilazu. Let this be a kiddushin with the benefit you're getting from this mechila. Dahashdu de kayoev lochach pruta. That actually would be different. That would be effective, because then he's right now giving her a value, a pruta, to hanoas milvi. He's giving her the benefit of the loan. Aval ki mekadesh la beikar hamos. The problem only happens when he's mekadesh her with the actual money of the loan, of the forgiveness of the loan. So over there, lav mi de yoavla. There he's not giving her anything. Shekvar heim bershus of heim shalah, because they're already in her possession. It's already hers. That's why if he would say the benefit of forgiving the loan or the benefit of extending the loan, so again that would be a good kiddushin. It might be a haramas ribis. It's not actual ribis. It might be a haramas ribis, but it still would be an effective kiddushin. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rava says, Heilach mona al menashe tachzireu li. If a person says, take this money, on the condition that you return it to me. So b'mecher lo kana, so let's say that's done by a sale, that's not going to be a good kinyan. In other words, let's say you have a lokeach, and he gives the mocher money for a piece of land, but he says to the mocher, I'm giving you the money on the condition you give the money back to me. I'm just giving you the money for the purposes of the kinyan. That's not a good kinyan. Similarly, be'isha eina mekudeshes, if he does that with a woman, it's not a good kiddushin. Bepidyan haben, if he does it with redeeming his first firstborn son, ein beno padoi, his son is not redeemed, that's not a good pidyon haben, but betruma, but let's say he does that with truma, he gives it to a Kohen in order to fulfill his obligation of giving truma to the Kohen, yotza yedei nesina, he would fulfill his obligation of nesina, he then gets it back from the Kohen, and he'd be able to go ahead and sell it and make money. Rashi says, yotza yedei nesina umocher lekohanim, he could then sell to Kohanim, v'hadomim shalo, and the money would be his. Well, the kamon parach mimanavshach, the Gemara later will ask, mimanavshach, either it's considered to be giving or it's not considered to be giving. Why is it considered to be giving by truma, but it's not considered to be giving by the other cases? But in any case, by truma, he's yotzei nesina, v'yasser lasos kain, but it's actually yasser to do this, mipnei shenira kekohen hemisayeya bebeis hagranos, because it looks like a kohen who's helping on the threshing floor. The halach is that a kohen is not allowed to help out in order to be the kohen that receives the truma. So over here also, presumably, if the kohen is taking the truma and then giving it back, he's doing that in exchange for some favor. It looks like a situation of kohen hamisayeya bebeis hagranos. Rashi explains, "V'yasser lasos kain lefisha b'schar zeh yitin lo shar trumosa," because as a reward for doing this, for doing him this favor of taking the truma and then giving it back, he's probably going to give him other truma. V'havahai kohen kekona truma b'scharo. It's as if the kohen is acquiring the truma. U'mesaya bebeis hagranos. It's like he's helping him out on the threshing floor. Sheyitnu lo ha-truma, with a deal that he should give him the truma. U'tanan bebechoros. We have a Mishnah bechoros kohanim hamesayim bebeis hagranos. If kohanim help out at the threshing floor, ein nosnim lehem truma. You're not allowed to give them truma. U'maisros, and you can't give them the maisros b'scharon as a reward, as a payment. V'imasukein, and if you do that, chilalo, so then you're actually mechalo the truma. V'aleim hakasav omer shichatem bris halevin. About them it says that they've corrupted the covenant of the Leviim. And in any case, the Gemara continues, as Rashi mentioned, Ma'ikosavar Rava, what exactly does Rava hold? Ikosavar matana al manas lahachzir shma matana. If he holds that when a person gives something on the condition that it's returned, that's called a matana, afilu kulunami, so it should work in all the other cases as well. It should work by mecher, it should work by kiddushin, it should work by pidyon haben also. V'ikosavar lo shma matana, and if he holds it's not considered a matana, afilu truma namilo, so it should not be effective by truma. Why are we treating the cases different? V'yodin further, harava hudama, Rava is the one that says matana al manas lahachzir shma matana. Rava says that if you have a matana on the condition to return it, actually is called a matana. Diyamar Rava, because Rava says heilach esrog zeh al manasha tachzirei. If somebody says take this esrog on the condition that you return it to me, netalo vechziro yotz. If he takes it and then he returns it, he's yotzei the mitzvah esrog. Vim lav, and if not, lo yotzei. He's not yotzei the mitzvah. So you see, according to Rava, that matana al manas lahachzir is effective. And so the Gemara says elamar Ravashi. Rather, Ravashi says bekulukani. It's actually effective in all the cases levar isha, except for the case of the wife by Kiddushin, lefisha ein isha niknas bechalipin, because a woman is not acquired by chalipin. And as Rashi says, elamar Ravashi vadai bekulu amar Rava dekona. Really, Rava said the kinyan works in all the cases. Levar meisha, except for by the wife, v'hai lechalipin dami, because this is similar to chalipin. Kekinyan besudar, it's similar to acquiring with a sudar, with a scarf. De'enu ela ochez ba machzir, is just like picking it up and returning it the way you would do a kinyan sudar, and so that's not good when it comes to the Kiddushin. And the Gemara continues, Amar le Rav Huna mar breder Rav Nechemia le Rav Ashi. Rav Huna mar breder Rav Nechemia said to Rav Ashi, Hachi Amrin, and that's exactly what they say, Mishmei de Rava, that's exactly what they say in the name of Rava, Kivaseich, like you say. In other words, the original teaching, the original version that we had of Rava is incorrect. What Rava actually said was the same version that you, Rav Ashi, just said. And the Gemara continues at the Tudat, Samar Rava says, Tain mana leploni. Let's say a woman says to a man, give a mana to ploni, to so-and-so, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Zayin Amud Aleph.